where the Representing Communities project, in fact the full title is, if I can, Developing the Creative Power of People to Improve Their Health and Wellbeing. I think the idea behind that, I've worked in relation to public health and health inequalities for many, many years, and what you come to realise in those communities that have the poorest health is that everything about the community's information is negative, so the statistics are negative. Media representations also, that often come at the back of that, are negative. And of course, in those communities, life is hard, but the data is always partial. Even though things are hard, they're not able to describe the problems in the way that they would want to. And there are things that are positive too that get hidden. So we're trying to find ways in which policymakers and service providers can better understand people's contexts as ways of finding solutions. And our conviction is that the creative arts and the analytic techniques and practices of the humanities as well can provide a mechanism to sort of open up an understanding and open up a space of dialogue between citizens and policymakers, if you like, with creative artists too. So we've had a lot of fantastic activities. Here are our stands.
Lots of things on to show people what you can do.
Yeah, but as Cardiff University is formally leading the project, and we've got 2 case studies in South Wales, we've used this opportunity to really engage with our communities in South Wales to open up a window. So most of our events have been off-site. We had a march, a banners procession of about 200 people, 200 children from Merthyr, North Merthyr. Joining us, we had some children from Ely as well, from another Connected Communities project, with banners, which were... Gwynalf Williams, a historian, said that banners are a memory of a movement, but they capture the heart of a community, their aims, their aspirations, and so on. So we've had communities making their own banners about their communities, as well as bringing along old lodge banners as well. So they walked down the River Taff, making a lot of noise, singing songs and dancing, and then they went to the Millennium Stadium and they did a performance, also reenacting the Merthyr Rising of 1831. So the children have been learning about their history, they've been learning about their situation now, and they've been enacting it. We also had a Caribbean evening, another of our case studies, representing Butetown, is focusing on the memories, experiences of Butetown for elder care. Even though many people don't live there anymore, Butetown is a place of significance, either historically or now as places to socialise, play dominoes, they pray there, they meet people. So we had, in partnership with National Theatre Wales, we had a performance-based assembly in the old NatWest building. It was a fantastic evening, full again of song and dance and performance, and we had members of the community and delegates really thinking about what does Butetown mean to people now, and beginning to think about the future too. But we have people from case studies from other places in the UK too, and I would really like you to speak to them.
Wonderful. Okay, yeah, we've got a couple of minutes to do that. That'd be wonderful. So yes. Who's here to come and have a chat?
This is Izzy McPhail.
Wonderful. Right. You want to tell us a little bit about the project you've been working on?
Yeah, I'm working on the Cromartie case study in the Scottish Highlands, and that provides quite a contrast with the other 4 in that it's classified in terms of government as deeply rural. Now, for me, from afar, an area that's more sparsely populated, it actually doesn't seem too rural, but compared to the other case studies it is. So something that's quite novel in terms of concept and approach with the Cromartie case study in the Highlands is that we're exploring issues to do with rural health by using an approach called deep mapping, and that's quite novel. It's not really been done to any great extent, and we're trying to understand what it's like to be living in these sort of places that are labelled and defined formally as rural or deep rural. These are places that have historically experienced huge amounts of migration regionally and globally, which tends to get forgotten about, but also have new forms of migration in recent years. The main town of Inverness became officially a city, the fastest growing city in Europe, just in the last few years. And Cromartie as a place suddenly lies within commuting distance an hour away because of new bridges and then a new city in 20, 30 years. So it's gone from a place that local rhymes defined as synonymous with poverty to somewhere that's sort of a very attractive place to live, whereas 10, 20 years ago you couldn't sell a house there at all. So different generations and different people of the same generation there have different experiences in terms of migration, in terms of experience of health, rural health, and we're using stories, song, fiction, folklore, visual art, created by people who live there, but also created by different kinds of artists, past and present, to try and understand the place better. And as Eva said, bringing that to the table with partners NHS, Highland, to try and look at more imaginative kinds of policy that help people manage their own lives and their own circumstances to the extent that they can. And I think being in partnership with the other case studies is really helpful because each one is taking a slightly different approach, all with arts at the heart of it. And we're not using, in this case, arts as a form of therapy, which is important and much discussed. We're using it as a means of discussion and communication and reporting, which is a very different step. That's the case across all the case studies, so that's an important difference as well.
Fantastic. And that's
Would you like this?
Yes,
Sorry.
absolutely. No, that's fine. No, absolutely. So another case study as well. Hodge Hill, Birmingham. So Joanna, do you want to tell us a bit about your case study?
Yeah, so I'm working on the case study over there, the green one, representing Hodge Hill.
Right.
And Hodge Hill is a part of inner city Birmingham in the east, which is a majority Pakistani community.
Right.
So we're working specifically with that Pakistani community. So we're looking at how that community is represented, and we're looking at exploring, this is longer term into the project, new ways of developing representations through arts participation. And we're quite in the early stages of the project now. So what we're doing in our case study is we're doing a lot of interviews, in-depth interviews with people from the Pakistani community from all walks of life. And we're looking at the way that people see and inhabit the local area. And the area is almost like a portal to part of Pakistan. So some people are attached to the area, and some people are very attached to their sort of homeland and previous ideas. And we're looking at first, second, and third generation. We're also looking at their health and how they manage their health and well-being, and about how they relate to place and how they see Pakistanis within the media, in their imagination, what images they carry. And from that analysis of those interviews, we're going to be developing creative projects as a way to explore some of the issues and help them to generate new forms of representation. In our community at the moment, there's a lot going on. It's very controversial because of the Trojan horse issue. That's exactly, it's called Alum Rock, that area that is in the news a lot at the moment. Hodge Hill is actually the district. And so at this moment, in a way, the representations of that community are becoming more opposed in the media and within the community. And the community is seeing itself in a way as a bit of a victim. And because of a sort of growing Islamophobia, perhaps, there is more of a division between those two. So it's actually very timely in a way, looking at how to promote new and complex representations. And even in the small time I've been working in this community, you realise there's just not one story, there's multiple sort of narratives and ways of living. And people who are maybe switching between cultures in a job, in education, back into families that have very rigid Islamic codes or rigid Pakistani cultures. So we're just beginning to unravel some of that. And we're also working creatively. So I'm actually Birmingham Poet Laureate as well. And I write a lot about places and cities in my other sort of capacity. And I'm used some of that also to start to sort of explore, think about how I could depict the community. And I've talked to people about the images of the community and what they're attached to and what they love creatively. So I'm sort of exploring those two sides.
And at the moment you're collecting your interviews. Are any of the creative projects that might result from that sort of emerging? You've got ideas of where you're going to take that?
I wouldn't like to sort of say exactly. I've got some ideas of the kind of thing. In terms of health, there are chronic diabetes problems within the Pakistani community and chronic high levels of depression amongst women. And so one of the things we're going to explore inevitably as part of the bigger range of topics will be that link between sort of sugar and depression, and also a link between those health issues and the prevailing, the sort of segregation of the community and the prevailing social and political climate. So that's something we'd like to explore. And also looking at aspirations and the way people see themselves. There's a lot of fatalism in the community, and that there are opportunities within the city that some people could access, but they feel there's no point, they're stuck. And so to try and sort of look at developing aspirations and maybe do that in a creative way that feels more comfortable. So things like that I've got ideas about, but I wouldn't. And I also, as a writer myself, I would like, there's in the community, there's a library in the middle of our community, inner city Birmingham. They cannot develop a reading group in that community. So people watch Bollywood films and Pakistani Lollywood films, and that's where they're getting their imaginative sort of realms from. And so we're hoping to try and develop maybe a film group that might then open up to reading and writing. So that's another idea, but I don't want to sort of impose those things. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Excellent. Thank you very much. I think we're going to need to wrap up, I'm afraid, now, so move on to the next. So thank you very much. Is there somewhere people can go to find out more about the work of all of the case studies? Is there?
Yes, there is a website. Only went live yesterday, and I can't remember what the web. But if you Google representing communities, and could I also give you a book which has been written by school children in North Merthyr with a storyteller and an illustrator. It's a fantastic story, and it's bound to sell worldwide. You heard it here first.
Absolutely wonderful. Thank you very much indeed to all of you. We're going to take a very short.